She was standing in front of a giraffe, laughing, glowing, 31 years old, and freshly engaged. She posted it herself, the rose petals, the Indian Ocean backdrop, and the caption that read Chapter 31, and I'm exactly where I need to be. 4 days later, hotel staff had separated her from her fiancé after repeated witnessed conflicts. Hours after that, Ashlee Robinson was found unresponsive. Tanzanian police confiscated her fiancé's passport. The family received a phone call 11 hours after the incident and were told she was stable. Then the hotel called and told them she was dead. And then came the detail that changed the entire shape of this case. A hospital medical report noting an unidentified mark around her neck, and a second hospital listing her cause of death as cerebral hypoxia by strangulation and suffocation. So what happened between those engagement photos and that final phone call? What really occurred inside that villa on the night of April 8th? And why does the official account still not sit right with the people who loved her most? Welcome back to Blood Betrayal Files, or if this is your first time here, you just walked into the middle of one of the most disturbing cases we have covered this year. In today's chapter, we are going deep into the death of Ashlee Robinson, a Philadelphia area content creator who flew to Zanzibar for a birthday celebration and an engagement and never came home. If you are not already subscribed, hit that button right now because you are going to want every update as this case develops. Drop in the comments where you are watching from tonight. I genuinely want to know who is sitting with me in the dark on this one. Alright, let's get back into it. Her name online was Ashlee Jenny. To her followers, over 100,000 of them on Instagram alone, her warmth and aspiration made visible. Soft life aesthetics, self-empowerment, luxury travel. The kind of content that makes you reach for your passport and believe that a better version of your own life is just a few good decisions away. Ashlee Robinson was 31. From the Philadelphia and South Jersey area, with ties to Portland and Miami. And by every account from the people who knew her, her parents Harry Robinson and Yolanda Denise Endres, her sister Alyssa, her friends, she was not just a persona. She was genuinely, infectiously alive. The Zanzibar trip was supposed to be the crown jewel of that aliveness. Her 31st birthday, a luxury resort on an island that looks like it was designed by someone trying to paint paradise. She and her fiancé, Joe McCann, a 45-year-old crypto finance executive based in Miami, arrived in Zanzibar around April 4, 2026. According to a report from Reuters, they first checked into one hotel before later moving to Zuri Zanzibar, a high-end resort on the island's northwest coast. People magazine reported police indicated they were at Zuri Zanzibar by April 6th. On April 5th, her birthday, she posted the giraffe, the rose petals, the ocean, the caption about being exactly where she needed to be. She had just gotten engaged. The man she was going to marry had proposed during the trip itself. And yet, when you go back and look at those posts now, knowing what comes next, something shifts in the air around them. They feel less like windows and more like walls. Because behind the curated joy that her followers were seeing, something else was reportedly already in motion. Something the resort staff would soon be forced to confront directly. Behind those birthday posts and proposal photos, resort employees were reportedly witnessing a relationship that looked nothing like what was being shared online. It was not one argument on one bad night. That is the detail that the earliest public framing of this story tends to gloss over, and it matters enormously. According to reports, police reported that the couple appeared to be having domestic conflicts based on what staff at the resort observed. AP reported that witness accounts indicated they had been quarreling frequently, not once, not twice, repeatedly, across multiple days until the night of April 8th. That was the night management made a decision. They separated the couple and asked McCann to move to another villa. According to reporting, his new accommodation was roughly an 8 to 10 minute walk from where Ashlee remained. Think about what that decision represents. Resort management at a luxury property does not restructure their guests' accommodations over a minor disagreement. They intervene when they believe a situation has escalated to a point where someone's safety or comfort is genuinely at risk. The staff had reportedly seen enough over enough days to act. Now here is the detail that makes this chapter even more important. Ashlee's mother told People magazine that Ashlee herself called the family on April 8th. She told them about the separation. She said she and McCann had been moved to different rooms after arguing. That is not a detail the family pieced together after the fact. That is a direct, real-time communication from Ashlee Robinson to her own mother from inside that resort on the very night everything fell apart. The family's concern did not begin after receiving the terrible news. It began during a live, ordinary phone call from their daughter, who was telling them that the vacation had turned into something else entirely. And now, the central question of this chapter hangs in the air, unanswered. If management believed the situation was serious enough to physically separate this couple, what exactly did they think they were preventing? That question does not have a clean public answer yet. But what happened next, in the hours that followed that separation, became the most disputed sequence of events in this entire case. After McCann had been moved to another villa, Ashlee Robinson was later found unresponsive. AP reported that she was found in a closet with a belt around her neck and was rushed to hospital, where she died the following day. Reports from the police said she allegedly attempted to hang herself using a clothing belt tied inside a wardrobe, and that she died on April 9th at around 3 p.m. local time while receiving treatment. It is critical to be precise here. Those were police accounts, as reported by news organizations. They were not the final public forensic conclusion. The investigation, as of the time of this recording, remained officially ongoing. Now, the family's account. Ashlee's mother told People magazine that McCann called the family the next day, not hours after it happened, not that same night. He told her that Ashlee had done something to herself, that she was being taken to the hospital, and that she was stable. And he told her it had happened 11 hours earlier. 11 hours. He waited 11 hours to call, and when he did call, he said she was stable. Then the hotel called, and the hotel told the family that Ashlee Robinson was dead. Other news sources reported the same sequence, the family hearing from McCann approximately 11 hours after the incident, being told Robinson was okay, and then receiving the news of her death from the hotel itself. Not from him, there is also a detail reported that the father said, sometimes McCann went back to the room with a security guard, and that is how they found her. The same outlet reported that the hospital medical record stated her fiancé found she hung herself on the door. That sequence, who returned, when they returned, who was present, and what those first moments looked like, sits at the absolute center of this case's unanswered questions. The timeline between the separation, the discovery, and the delayed call is the thread that the family cannot stop pulling. Imagine being a parent getting that call from another continent. First you hear your daughter is stable, then you learn she is gone. No parent should have to reconstruct their child's final hours through silence, distance, and a phone call that came more than 11 hours too late. If Ashlee's story matters to you, say her name in the comments, share this video, stay with this case. Attention is the only pressure the public can apply to unanswered timelines. If the timeline created doubt, the medical records created something closer to alarm. News reported that a hospital medical report noted an unidentified mark around Robinson's neck. That phrasing, unidentified, is significant, not a ligature mark consistent with a specific mechanism, not a mark whose origin was immediately explained, unidentified. Another source said she was taken to a second hospital, which listed her cause of death as cerebral hypoxia by strangulation and suffocation. Cerebral hypoxia is oxygen deprivation to the brain. It can result from hanging or suspension. It can also result from external compression of the neck, from strangulation by another person. Forensic pathologists distinguish between these mechanisms through the pattern of a ligature mark, whether it runs upward or horizontally across the neck, through fractures to the hyoid bone, through petechial hemorrhaging in the eyes and skin, through internal soft tissue damage. The distinction matters enormously, and those forensic details, the ones that would settle the question of mechanism, had not been publicly released as of this recording. What the family and the public had was this: a preliminary report with an unidentified mark, a cause of death framed in language that described compression of the airway, and an official police account that was still characterized as pending professional medical and forensic examination. Reuters explicitly reported that investigators were awaiting those findings, which means the police account that circulated first, the account that framed this as straightforward, was offered before the forensic picture was complete. The public first heard one story. Then the reported hospital language made that story feel far less settled. And if the medical record complicated the story, the next obvious question was unavoidable. What were Tanzanian authorities doing with the man who was at that resort, at the center of that timeline? Joseph Isaac McCann, 45 years old, Miami-based, founder and CEO of Asymmetric Financial, a cryptocurrency-focused hedge fund that had, according to reporting, received institutional backing from prominent venture capital figures. Wall Street background, Silicon Valley experience at companies including Microsoft. By public measure, a man with significant resources and access. He had been with Ashlee Robinson for roughly a year to a year and a half before this trip, a relationship that had reportedly begun in late 2024 or early 2025. He proposed to her during the Zanzibar trip itself, and then, according to the timeline the family disputes, everything that followed moved in a direction that none of it was supposed to go. News sources reported that Tanzanian police were questioning McCann and had confiscated his passport. People reported that police were speaking to him as a witness, not as a charged suspect. The Guardian reported that local officials said he was not suspected of wrongdoing at that stage. Those distinctions matter for the integrity of how this story is told. He was not arrested. He was not charged. As of the latest reporting available, no formal allegation had been publicly lodged against him. And yet, his passport was being withheld. He remained in Tanzania while the investigation continued. He had, according to family accounts and what reporters found on social media, deleted photos of Ashlee from his own profiles after her death and begun posting about unrelated topics. He did not issue a detailed public statement. He did not respond to repeated media outreach. The family was left constructing the timeline from the outside, through a delayed phone call, through a hotel notification, through a preliminary hospital report that raised more questions than it answered. The investigation was suspended in uncertainty. And then the world found out about it. The case did not stay contained. Ashlee's friend, PR executive Savannah Britt, was among the first to amplify the family's public statement on social media, specifically questioning the lack of early communication from U.S. authorities and challenging the suicide narrative. Then on April 13th, Cardi B posted on X a 4-word statement that cracked the case into national mainstream attention. That girl did not off herself. From that moment, the story moved from niche true crime circles into network news, community spaces, and newsrooms across the country. News sources reported that the online response was largely driven by people who felt the story had not been fully explained. CBS reported the family was demanding a transparent investigation, and the family's own public statement, released via Instagram on April 12th, made their position clear. Ashlee was full of life. She had no known history of suicidal ideation. She was celebrating. She was engaged. She had just turned 31 and captioned her own birthday as the beginning of exactly the life she had wanted. The family's specific demands were concrete. They wanted resort surveillance footage from the cameras on the walkways and outside the villas. They wanted keycard logs that could verify who moved where and when. They wanted the full autopsy results and toxicology, which, despite a completed examination around April 15th, with reported involvement from a U.S. Embassy-dispatched coroner, had not been released to the family or to the public. That last detail is not minor. The U.S. Embassy in Dar es Salaam reportedly dispatched a coroner to assist with Ashlee's autopsy. That is not a routine step. That is a step taken when there is sufficient uncertainty or interest to warrant additional independent oversight. Ashlee's father, Harry Robinson, traveled to Washington, D.C. to engage directly with U.S. officials and the State Department. A GoFundMe to cover travel to Zanzibar, the return of Ashlee's body, funeral costs, and investigation support surpassed its $50,000 goal. As of the time of this recording, Ashlee's body had not yet been returned to the United States. McCann remained in Tanzania with his passport withheld, questioned as a witness but not charged. Full autopsy and toxicology results had not been released. The resort surveillance footage had not been publicly confirmed as reviewed or shared with the family. The investigation remains ongoing, pending professional medical and forensic reports. People said no arrests had been made. AP confirmed the probe continued, which means this story does not end here. Ashlee Robinson left for a birthday trip that looked, by every public signal, like the beginning of a new chapter. Instead, it became a case defined by reported arguments, a forced separation, an 11-hour silence, troubling medical language, and a family still asking the question that has never received a publicly satisfying answer. What really happened inside that villa in Zanzibar? The full forensic record, the autopsy details, the toxicology, the surveillance footage, the keycard logs, those are the pieces that could finally draw the line between the official account and the family's account. Until those pieces are public, this case remains exactly what it is: open, unresolved, and heavy with the weight of everything that has not yet been explained. Ashlee Robinson deserves answers. Her family deserves answers, and until those answers arrive with evidence, this story stays open. If this case matters to you, here is what you can actually do now. Say Ashlee's name in the comments, not because it is a trend, because named victims are harder to forget, and this investigation is still active. Share this video with someone who has not heard her story yet. The more people who know her name, the more pressure stays on the timeline. Subscribe to Blood Betrayal Files if you are not already here. We are going to follow every development in this case as it surfaces, the autopsy release, the surveillance footage, whatever comes next, and you need to be here when it does. We are not done with this story. Not even close. Rest in power, Ashlee Robinson. Chapter 31 deserved so much more.